Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am straight off the plane from France. What an amazing trip. On that note, you may have noticed there was no Friday episode. I had one recorded. Internet connectivity kicked my ass a little bit. And timing. So, this week there's going to be a Monday episode, a Wednesday episode, and a Friday episode. Before I get into who is today's guest, let's talk about the sponsor and why I was in Normandy in the first place. That's right, blackriflecoffee.com. What an amazing brand. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring veterans back to hallowed ground from World War II on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And we did a jump into a battery. We went to Omaha Beach. We went to the American Cemetery there. We went to a variety of towns that were key in the invasion and liberation of France. And it was amazing. I think it was the last thing on my bucket list. So even though I'm looking at their website right now, and it says there's a Father's Day sale, you can use code DAD30. Click on it if you want to. You can go look at all their coffee roasts, their apparel, their gear, coffee bundles, coffee samplers, all of those things. Yeah, let's assume that you have a coffee lover in your life. Your dad's a fan of it. Get him some coffee. But don't do it because it's good coffee. Do it because they're good people. And it's an amazing fucking brand. And I couldn't be more thankful of the trip I just went on. Well, on this trip, I finally was able to wrangle Mr. Timothy Kennedy for an episode. I don't know how to describe him. He is an aficionado of violence. He's a UFC fighter. Born and raised, actually not too far from where I was, just a little bit south, down in the Paso Robles area. Different path than mine for sure, with the Army, Green Beret route. Variety of schools, mutual friends that he served with at the same time. The number of people that we know from the special operations community overlapping is unbelievable. He does amazing things. And we sat down while we were just off the beach in France and asked him a few things. So let's just get into that. And then there's a Wednesday episode, and then there's Friday. Episode number 339 with Timothy Kennedy. Enjoy.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. Get cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
You know what time it is?
It is
You're
5.
supposed to pull out your cool watch.
Oh, it's inside. It's still wet. I can run and go grab it.
No.
I missed the opportunity.
God damn it. Not that we have anything to do with these watches. They're just awesome.
They're just awesome.
Why have you been avoiding coming on the show for years? Let's just open with the easy ones.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I don't like you. I don't like spending time with you. And now
Sure.
that we've been trapped in a house as roommates, it's become clear and evident that that position was well founded.
Is there any cooler house than the one that we have?
No,
Fuck no.
We got the coolest house.
We have the coolest house. We have the coolest crew in France.
Yeah, it's that berm right there that we can see on the other side of that is the Atlantic Ocean of Normandy. That's pretty freaking cool.
Do you think that if World War II is going to happen again, that we still have the young men and women with the sack to do it again? You think we still have it?
Man, I think every generation asks this question. And yeah, we do.
I think so too.
And not even am I hesitating in saying yes. You know, like I think the guys coming back from World War I, you know, like coming back from the hell that was that war, trench warfare, you know, like they're crushing dudes with their helmets and, you know, like full on charges into machine gun fire. That was the first war that they could kill at scale, you know, or like the machine that is the war machine had been truly coming around the corner of perfection. And those guys came back hurting. And then they're like, no, you guys can never handle war. You bunch of sissies, you little, you know, what, you're poor. That's the worst thing you got going on right now is you're struggling through the depression.
What do you think the suicide rate was after World War I? Do you know if they've collected data on that?
I don't think they have. And if
Do you
they
think
did,
it would
they
be
won't
higher
share it.
or lower than the 22, which I don't necessarily agree with that number because of how they gathered the data. It was a really incomplete data set over a short period of time. You think it would be higher or lower though?
It could be similar.
I feel like for some reason it would be lower, and I don't have any data to support that. I don't think they were necessarily that harder, but I think life was harder.
Yeah.
So,
I think you're right there.
well, if life was harder and they were just used to that, would the experience of war have less of an impact on them? Because if life is easy, and then you have the experience of war, and you come back to easy, does that scramble your eggs more?
Man, yeah. So when baseline of trauma is fighting for your existence, and
It's
baseline
like,
is
maybe
here.
I don't have enough calories for today.
Yeah, like we might starve to death. You know.
Oh, and
like,
maybe my entire family of 6, which also it's a good idea, maybe not to have 6 kids in that era, but who am I to judge how you live your life?
well, half of them died in the first 3 years of their life. So like you
That
had
would
to have
fuck
6.
me up more than war. Your
Yeah.
own children dying because of malnourishment and your inability,
Yeah.
not because of lack of trying to provide basic necessities.
And by no means am I a proponent of any of the current forms of medicine, but the 1910 to 1920, 1930 level of medicine, you know, you had kids not just dying of starvation, but of like some pretty basic
Yeah.
health problems.
Yeah, penicillin's pretty good. I'm a fan of that one.
It's pretty handy. That
Vitamin I, ibuprofen, is pretty good sometimes.
Yeah.
Not that you ever probably took that when you were fighting. Yeah, I do think we have it. There's a lot of people, to include myself, sometimes, if I'm being honest, that will talk shit about the younger generation. Mostly because I have kids.
and they deserve it sometimes.
So one of my favorite conversations when I was at Buds Instructors, we would sit there and look at the students and say, did our instructors think about us the same way we're thinking about them?
And they absolutely did.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we're going to be okay. I don't want to see our world pressed that way, but I do think if there was a draft, which, was it you saying that we're...
Oh, we can't talk about that data.
Why?
The IRR stuff?
Yeah.
All right, send it.
I don't even know what that means.
The
I'm not active duty. I can say, fuck, I won.
You're gonna get me in trouble.
Well, whisper it to me and then I'll say it.
Okay, we're the closest that we've ever been to activating groups within the IRR to come back into service without wanting to.
And would this be to meet baseline criteria for military manning?
Yes, like strategic level crisis mode right now in staffing. When you have like general population of Americans and 3/4 of them aren't eligible for service, your population of available candidates to just fill jobs is greatly reduced. But then when you start looking at guys like you that go into special operations, that is selected from what should be this larger pool.
Yeah,
but
it's
that
a subset
pool,
of the bigger pool.
Yeah, and as those pools start shrinking, it gets really tiny when you start looking at like, do we have enough people to select for SEAL training? And then you're like, nope, we do not. We don't have enough pilots. We don't have enough nuclear engineers. We don't have enough infantry. We don't have enough Rangers are like the only people because...
Marines are the only military branch that has hit their recruiting numbers over the last 10 years.
They got great uniforms.
God, dude. They also have the best esprit de corps that I've seen.
Yeah.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. You can pick them out because it's a red car, trucker, probably Corvette in the modern era. It used to be a Mustang. But yeah, Navy's hurting. I think the Navy's been under 25%. Navy at large. I think the SEAL pipeline is still doing okay, but yeah, what you're talking about, that cascading effect. And then the Army, I think, has been under. Air Force has been under, and I don't even know how Space Force gets
On the
people.
special operations side in the Army, we're talking to Command Sergeant Major yesterday, and you heard him. He's like, we're shuttering team rooms. We're like talking ghosting of like a company.
Here's the problem, though. Nobody understands what that means until you need that room full of people and they're not there.
Yeah. And not just bodies, not just sacks of human blood sitting in a room, but talented, trained, equipped, prepared professionals of violence. And that takes time.
I was going to say, I think the last stat I saw, it was 1 year, 300 SEALs, or 300 people got their trident, 301 people got out. And if you're looking at that on paper, like, okay, that's a net loss of one person until you multiply the experience and the time. And then you need to sit there and go, oh shit. Like, it's cool that we have the bodies. And I actually think one of the healthiest things, I forget what we were, I was on one of the panels that we did. And I didn't have the chance to say it because somebody else was making a really good point, but I was thinking about, I don't know if it was in between resiliency or talking about suicide or moving on and not being defined by your job. I think it's very healthy for people to remember that they have an expiration date in everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
That the military is going to replace you.
You're so
But if you don't remember that, or if you think that you're not, like I didn't lift my head up a little bit, like from metaphorical perspective, and think about after the military until I got hurt.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this is the first time I've ever had to think about not being able to do my job. Maybe I need to consider other options. I don't know what it would have looked like had I not gotten hurt. I would have, well, I know what I would have done. Just gas pedal fucking to the floor.
Yeah. Until the wheels come off.
Yeah, until I wake up in a rubber room one day and wonder what happened and try to find somebody to blame and then look in the mirror and be like, hey, dickhead.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're replaceable is super healthy.
It's hard on the ego though. And
that's good though. Almost everything in life I think should be hard on the ego.
Yeah, it should, but I want an 18 Bravo that's gonna look at that wall right there and be like, I can run through that, and he can, but he needs to think that he can.
But there's an opening over there.
There is an opening there.
Do you want an 18 Bravo that would run through the wall or stop and be like, hey, or do you need both?
We need both. You have to have both. You have to have a dumb guy like me that's gonna be like, yeah, I'll run through that wall and kill everything on the other side of it. You don't think those Rangers just up the beach here at Point the Hawk were like, yeah, I can climb that, Or that they hop over the side, the MG33, not the 240 sound of.
It seems like it has twice the cycling.
It is. It's.
What's that thing, Huckin? 7.62s?
Yeah.
At that rate of fire?
Yeah.
What would have been your move? You're the first guy on the ladder, Point to Hawk.
Yeah, I just find like a fat guy.
No, I mean like you're the first guy up, and I had never been there. This was probably the last place on my bucket list to be able to see all these places. Tomorrow, we'll check it off when we go to Omaha and the American Cemetery. I had heard of Point to Hawk, obviously a much deeper and steep tradition in the Ranger lineage and history, which I didn't come from. You went to Ranger school, right?
Yeah, but that's not the history of the Ranger Regiment.
I understand that. I'm just saying, I told you about this. We used to send people for DUIs.
Yeah.
Whatever,
I always make a very clear distinction. I feel like you're baiting me. It's like,
no, I don't understand.
I'm a Ranger. Point to Hawk is mine.
You went to Ranger school.
Yeah. Ranger school.
I'm not saying that you went to a Ranger battalion. I explained the difference between the tab and the scroll.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which is wild that I know the difference between that, probably because I fucked it up in front of a Ranger and he corrected me. But I knew about that. I mean, our lineage, or my lineage, I think it would have been the Scouts and Raiders before the UDT, probably did some obstacle clearance,
they absolutely did.
Hydro reconnaissance, right?
Yeah.
But it's like hinterland to the water. So Point to Hawk and be like, hey, maybe drive your boat up that channel.
Yeah.
I'm not going up that shit. It was, I'm looking down right where that monument is and just looking over the sides, and there are some areas where it's like you have a little bit of defilade and it's scooped out. But if you lift your head up, for me to that fence was the beginning of a German pillbox.
Yeah. 10 meters?
That's what I'm saying. So what's your move? Ranger Kennedy is number one up the ladder. Do you just switch over to your 1911 and a grenade and get some, or do you get a couple buddies? Like what?
Yeah. Speed, surprise, and violence of action. Like we learned that from the Nazis in the Blitzkrieg. That I don't think there's any other way. The frightening part about that whole entire assault was the 48 hours that they had to fight without reinforcements.
Yeah.
They're trying to take 2 batteries, like 155 millimeter guns, that one of them is pointed at the beach.
Yeah.
Like you don't take those, everybody's gonna die. And
And the terrain, it couldn't have been like the oscillations, the little bit, and there was grass, and of course just overlapping field of fire by reinforced concrete bunkers. Dudes running around in gray uniforms. They had a tunnel system there too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, 2 days. Were you ever in a tactical situation? Because I was thinking about this too. They were there for 2 days unsupported, but they literally had their back up against a wall. I mean, they couldn't maneuver. I don't think I ever got into a tactical situation where we could not have maneuvered. Their back was against the ocean, so really they had hold the line or move forward.
Yeah, what like Sun Tzu in The Art of War, like rule number 1, don't do that. And those guys were like, we have no choice, we have to.
I think the stats were it was either 250 and 275 went up.
225 went up.
And 90 continued. Now, so the rest weren't all killed, but it was either a combination
Yeah,
of...
70% casualty rate.
Yeah.
Amongst the Rangers that climbed Point de Hoc. And casualty, as you know, it's not just dead.
Yeah.
It's your battle ineffective.
Yeah, combat ineffective, essentially.
It's wild, man. I stood there and it was like,
Yeah.
it wasn't the wind taking my breath. We were, you and I have no problem talking.
You're better at it than me.
But I was lost for words. You know, I stood there and I just couldn't imagine.
I still can't. I was talking about it today. Today we were at St. Mary Lee.
That's right.
And Jack was asking me questions about, just being here. Every place we've been so far, I can't stop myself thinking about it from a tactical perspective.
Yeah.
Like the dude on the roof at the church.
Yeah.
Who, for people who don't know the story, do we know how he was injured? Was it flak?
So when he parachuted out and got hung up on the church, I think it was from hitting the church.
I mean...
But then he played dead.
Yeah, played dead. They eventually cut him down. He was captured. Escaped 4 hours later, which is the move for anybody who's ever been captured. You need to get out of there quickly before they can formulate a plan.
And then
continued to fight.
And kill.
Completed the war. And wasn't that the same guy that came back and married one of the daughters from that area?
From the mayor's daughter.
God bless him.
Yep, there's a street named after him. So 5 jumps in airborne school.
Yeah.
Jump number 6, I was in holding pattern to go to Special Forces selection. I had just finished that course, SOP-C, and you have to stay current as a jumper. And we went and jumped at St. Mare. My jump number 6 was as a SWIC student at St. Mare.
Where was their actual drop zone supposed to be? Because I feel like they didn't intentionally drop them over the church.
They did, yeah. All of those so the city wasn't the size that it is now.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like if the church is like the epicenter, and everything's kind of built around that. You had 2 blocks in every direction. So like and the goal, because St. Mare is the closest city between the port of Cherbourg and
which is where we are now.
Yep, and the beaches where everybody was. Like if you didn't take that city, you're screwed, because that is the egress for retreat, and that is also the reinforcement route to the beaches. These are like rooted American, like being stationed at Fort Bragg for so long. Like I heard these stories, like, and some of them are like the fish was this big because it's just been generations of troopers.
Maybe the fish was that big.
It might have been. With these dudes,
you
it probably
walk down
was.
Some of these streets. Yeah, I stole a line from you today. I'm like, they threw their balls over their shoulder and then got after it. I mean, who knows? I mean, that guy could have gotten injured on the flight in when their plane was eating flak.
Yeah.
I mean, if the choice is you burn to death or explode in the airplane or jump out over a city, I'm going to at least go out over the city.
Yeah. As I've been overwhelmed by the French appreciation.
Yeah.
Every time that, especially when we're in uniform, people are just coming up and thanking us. And then when we walked off the drop zone, carrying our parachute, you could hear them applauding us when we exited the aircraft. The moment I got under canopy,
I know, I felt uncomfortable by that.
It was weird.
Because we were LARPing.
Yeah, we were LARPing.
We have to admit it, we LARPed yesterday.
Yep, total cosplay.
You, more so than most, you had full face paint and a mohawk under that hat right now, which I deeply appreciate.
This bad boy right here.
But yeah, we had to come to grips with the fact that we were LARPing. You're still actually in the military, so for me it was hardcore LARPing.
I could not be more proud of cosplaying the greatest generation. You know, if imitation is the best form of compliment,
Yeah.
then I will imitate the things that these men did.
Well, how many French men and women did you see in American uniforms? They were everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean,
Most of them.
I'm talking full, like airborne with helmet and like camouflage face paint on.
Yeah. Some of those outfits are €1,000 to get all that stuff together, and they're spending their money to pay tribute and honor and recognize the sacrifice of Americans that liberated them.
Do you think we will ever have a celebration of anything we did in our time in military, like it's happening over here?
No,
I don't think so either.
no. Like the Battle of Ramadi, Fallujah, Sadr City, you know, the Urzgan Valley. You know, when we won Bagram, the time that we took back Anaconda. What's the celebration here?
I mean, it might be cool if we went to Baghdad and Iraqis were wearing like AOR-1 camo. Who was it?
There's Matt.
Cooking you guys sausages. Sorry.
Alright,
Yeah. Matt's cooking us sausages. That's Matt Best in the background.
But like Iraqis are wearing like AOR-1 and bump helmets. They're cosplaying us.
It'd be cool.
I don't know if it would be.
It's just not gonna happen.
I think they would be V-bitted or get.
It's terrible.
I mean, what does that say though? What does that say about what we dedicated years of our life to?
I mean, the best years of our life. You know, like our youth was lost.
I mean, we didn't
there.
liberate any countries. I think, depending on who you are or how you thought about it, you might have been able, if you did some mental geometry, you might have been able to get yourself to a place that said you were going to liberate a country. I never thought about that. So I can only speak for me. I never thought about what we were doing as liberating a country. It's more like going to a place where we needed to be to stop the spread of what I consider to be evil.
Yeah, same.
So I don't know, maybe there shouldn't be any expectation of it, but I have talked to a few older French people on this trip. They expressed to me concerned that the younger generations have less of a connection to the day.
Yeah.
And it means less to them, which I think that's natural too. And I think that's happening in the US as well with our cohorts time period in service.
Yeah. Some of the boomer generation of French people, you know, like their parents.
Aren't we boomers?
We are boomers, yeah.
Okay.
No, we're Generation X. Our parents are boomers.
Okay.
And
So if you can't work a cell phone, you're a boomer.
that's right.
Okay.
Cell phones came in at the end of them. Cell phones came in at the beginning of ours.
I still remember mine. The
Yeah,
flip
dude.
screen with
Yeah.
the pull the teeth on the little antenna.
Yep.
I didn't call anybody the first month because I only had 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And they rolled over. So the next month I had 120 minutes, but free weekends.
Yeah.
People are now like, what? That's weird. You
If
mean you
you're
didn't
like-
have unlimited data? Like, no, motherfucker, you were
Send
counting
a
your minutes.
message. You're like A 3 times, C. Then you go down to. Anyways, I was about to spell a bad word for you guys.
Just use your imagination.
Yeah. But those, what would be the grandparents, looked up in the sky and they saw canopies for the first time in their lives. They've never been told about it. They've never read about it. It's never been in any book.
I never thought about that.
They saw something that had never been done before, and their parents never told them about it. They had never friends that never. It's not in any book. It's not in any movie. It's not ever. Like, it's commonplace. Like, like super famous skydiver. What these people saw was something that they'd never seen before or heard ever existed. And they looked up and they saw green canopies and Americans coming down with M1 Grands and Thompsons tucked underneath their arms, and they started slaying everybody in a gray suit.
What do you think the Germans thought when they looked up? Fuck.
9!
I mean, at some point, math comes into this. I mean, D-Day was planned the way that it was, and it's not like they planned that invasion thinking like, hey, this is going to go awesome. It was math.
Yep.
Like, we're going to throw numbers at this. At some point, I mean, I haven't been to Omaha. We're going to go there tomorrow, but again, I'll view it from a tactical perspective. At some point, as the people defending that, you have to realize you can't stop it. Mm-hmm. Then what do you do?
Yeah. Well, like the British did at Dunkirk, they try to strategically retreat, regroup, and reposition, and that is where the enemy of your enemy is your friend, and that's where the Russians came into play, because as the Eastern Front was, the Russians were just there. You want to talk about numbers?
Yeah.
As they're just throwing bodies. We'll take one gun for every 3 guys. Third guy, just pick up the gun from the 2 dudes in front of you because they'll be dead.
Similar strategy to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot seems to have changed.
No, it's working.
Yeah.
It's a battle of attrition.
What? So you've been here a couple times. What's your? I was gonna say your favorite, but maybe that's not the best way to describe it. What's the most memorable location for you in the times you've been here?
One, every time's been different. Like I wasn't here for the 75th anniversary, and now at the 80th, you can feel the World War II veterans that are here are rock stars. Like it's as if.
How crazy was yesterday?
Yeah.
How do you even describe that? I mean, so there was 2 World War II veterans.
Mm-hmm.
One legitimately carried a fucking flamethrower on Iwo Jima.
Yep.
75 pounds. He said you got 6 squirts. That's not a good weight to squirt ratio.
Well, I mean, I similarly have a 6 squirt max, and it's about 75 pounds.
All right. I'm gonna leave that one there for other people to dissect their way through. But so he went Iwo Jima. Then I think he came over to Europe, right? And at your reenlistment, there was the Vietnam veteran,
Yep.
the Pacific theater veteran,
Yep.
and the WW2 European theater veteran.
Yeah, that's the guy I talked to the most.
Which one?
The World War II European veteran.
Yes. This was his first time back. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was the Pacific theater guy's first time here.
Okay.
The other one said he had been back more times than he could count, and he loved 99. First off, the guy asked for a glass of wine to begin with. It's like, sir, you get whatever the fuck you want.
Dude, that's hilarious. I walk up and I'm like, sir, would you like, do you something to drink? He's like,
Yeah.
yes. I'm like, would you like water, beer, wine, liquor? And he's like, the wine. I'm like, all right. Do you want white or red? He's like, red. I'm like, how much do you want? He goes,
Yeah. I'd give that, like, just tell me when to stop.
Yep.
And when you're done with that, I will give you
he
more.
was flirting with all the girls. He's 100 years old.
I know. He was showing people a picture from him tandeming last year. I can't, there's a 0% chance at the 90th anniversary any of those guys will be alive.
No.
All of them are close. Even if you came in at 18 or lied about your age, you're in your late 90s right now.
And that's what I was going to say, that you can feel on this one, and specifically with those guys, and I think other people recognize it. This is maybe their last chance to see these guys. Now,
But they got mobbed. Like, how would you even,
we had to do crowd control.
we had jumped, LARPed, for lack of a better term. And selected tactically advantageous terrain, both high ground and shade, dominated with numbers, pushed everybody to the side. And these 2 men are wheelchaired in, and I don't think people noticed until that, I think they were a couple that was singing, dressed as American servicemen.
Yeah.
It was a man and a woman singing in French, which honestly, that was cool too, watching people like swing dance and they'd switch back and forth between like French and English. They said something, I'm assuming, because I speak 0 French, something along the lines of, there are 2 living veterans that are over on the other side of this, we'll call it the grassy knoll.
Yeah. And it got wild.
You Sergeant Major a little bit.
Yeah.
You got your Sergeant Major hat on and yelled at the crowd.
Well, I mean, it's so sweet that though the French people were so overwhelmed with emotion and excitement, they just wanted to walk up, touch them, and say thank you. And they're obviously like the French distance, like personal space thing isn't like Americans.
Proximity comfort?
Yeah. So, and then mixed in with the excitement, emotion, they just started overwhelming, these 100-year-old men. And one, that's amazing. But 2, I had to use the NCO voice.
Yeah. But how cool is it we had to erect like caution tape barriers and then have people standing in between that. Yeah. And I heard the same thing because Sarah recruited me to stand in one of those positions and light people on fire with my eyes. The number of, they all open with the same thing. Like, thank you so much. Like, fuck, man. And I mean, honestly, it's like you're choking back tears just listening to them talk and express gratitude. I hope that we don't ever lose that, man. I also wish that people who younger, I'm going to make a broad statement, so it's probably going to be inaccurate to a degree, but the younger people who, I don't know why they are saying this, and maybe they're being coached or taught that are saying that the United States sucks, for lack of a better term, or it's founded upon bad principles, or it is oppressive in nature. They should be forced to listen to those people express their gratitude for risking everything to liberate a country that they may never go back to.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is the most impactful expression of what it means to be a U.S. service member.
Yeah. The level of patriotism by a random French person on the northern coast of France is 1,000x than any
First up,
student.
we got some patriotic people. I mean, you live in what I'm going to call relatively patriotic state.
Yeah.
Montana too.
No.
I think
There's still bastions of freedom in Montana and Texas.
I really think they're losing miles per gallon on the number of flags flying from some of these trucks. It's like, hey man, you're committed. I like that, but you're also knocking off like 5 MPG.
They don't care. Yeah. every building in St. Mary-Anglise had a flag on it.
More than I've ever seen in the U.S.
They had banners going back and forth. I mean, it was so freaking cool. So cool.
Have you been to the American Cemetery?
I have.
I don't know if I'm looking forward to that, or it's just going to be horrendous to see that marker of loss of life. That's probably the last thing on my bucket list is seeing that.
Yeah. There's one that just, there's one cross, and inscribed in the stone of that cross that one cross represents those that were never recovered.
Yeah.
And they've assigned a number to that, and it's their best guess. And that one gets you, because you see thousands of crosses, and then there's one that's separate from all of them, and it's just like, we don't know how many people this cross represents. These are the ones that we know. This is the one that we don't. And that one just, I'm not ruining it because I want you to read it and you sit there, and it's succinct. It's Hemingway's to the point. Brevity is key, and it is impactful.
Just knocks you on your ass.
Yep. I just stand there, sit there, and stare at that thing and try to breathe.
Yeah, it's a wild place. I think so far my favorite has been the reaction to those veterans.
Yeah.
Jack Harr posted a video of, I believe it was a high school. It's like 4,000 high school age kids with I think he stopped counting at like 5 to 8 minutes of a standing ovation. Fuck, man.
Wow.
I feel like that's how I should enter every room. To lighten it up a little bit. Why'd you re-enlist?
It's Matt just laughs in the background.
Because he knows. He knows you're a dumbass for enlisting.
Yeah.
Let's be clear, I was trying to talk you out of it up until the moment.
Yeah.
Then you made me stand there like an asshole and hold the flag up for you.
Yeah.
Which is not a request you can fucking say no to.
Yeah. It was General George, the chief of the Army. There was the Sergeant Major of the Army and General Donahue, and we're flanked by every veteran of every war since World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, and then we had branches of service from all branches of service that fought in GWAT. That was what's standing there when and I'm sitting there with a mohawk and a filthy 13 face paint.
Let's be honest, you could not have been farther out of regs, and not a single comment was made about it.
No, there was one by the
who?
SMA, by the Sergeant Major.
Really?
He said, "You look rad," and I was like,
okay, that's what I mean.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a positive comment.
Yeah.
Nobody was like, hey, this is going to be like publicized, and we're going to need you to be in uniform, or you can't have that on your face.
Yeah.
I was kind of watching the 4-star. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to see Tim for the first time. It was like water hitting Teflon. He didn't give a shit.
No. I think he gets, first of all, the current command of the Army right now, when you look at the staff of General George, there were a bunch of unit dudes up there. I mean, all of those guys are soft. The current Sergeant Major of the Army is one of the most elite soldiers on the Army NCO side that we have ever had in the history of
Where did he
our
come
Army.
from in the Army? Was he a Ranger guy or SF guy?
Yes.
Okay.
And a unit guy.
What unit, Tim? What do you mean?
He was at Bragg.
What does that mean?
And
What organization is there?
every and then and then he took every single job in that unit all the way up to squadron and then unit sergeant major, and then goes over to special operations CSM positions.
Yep.
And that's our current SMA. The dude's just like a rock star. He's all the things. To answer the question of why, like my greatest fear is to be a hypocrite, I think.
That's what keeps you up at night?
Yeah. To my kids, the dad, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Like, hey son, you should get to practice, as he's sitting there drinking a beer with a fat belly. Like,
Eat healthy, work hard. And they look like they're fucking melted candle wax.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want a good job? Sky's the limit for you. Just keep dreaming. And the dude's like a failure at everything. So
Should we tell kids that the sky's the limit? What if they're dumb?
No, then no.
I mean, let's be honest. We're not all created the same.
No, we're not. And
I
now
do want
cultures,
people to dream, but if you tell somebody who's a retard,
Yep.
and I don't mean like from a medical perspective, I mean they're just sucking at life.
Yeah.
And you tell them they can be anything.
The human condition, with if eugenics is a thing, and Hitler's right, then we can start pruning.
Just for clarity, that was Tim Kennedy that said that. I did not.
No, I preface this. These are questions. if the idea that we can select via
He was trying to create the perfect human,
the
the most optimal human being.
But you miss on the beauty of the human condition, which is the Beethoven. The guy's deaf. He has diseases. They think he's an idiot. Einstein couldn't speak until he was 5. They thought that guy was an absolute idiot. And
Meanwhile, he was probably figuring out theoretical physics at that age and just didn't want to waste his time talking to morons.
He's 5.
Yeah.
Not putting real sentences together until he's effectively in 2nd grade, and one of the smartest guys to walk the face of the planet. And that's this human thing where I know that you've seen it at Buds, where like there's no way that guy's gonna make it, and then that perfect like Greek Adonis looking dude is the first to quit, and you see this little like skin and bones, tough as nails guy that just you can't get to the quitter in him.
I would tell people that if we were allowed to bet on the students as instructors, I would be broke. You would back the show pony,
Yep.
and then they go run to go have lunch, and show pony doesn't come back.
Yeah.
What, dude?
Yeah.
I just bet my whole month's paycheck on you. God damn it. No, I was 150 pounds when I grew. Actually, I gained weight in Buds. I was 150 pounds when I joined. Navy boot camp is a bizarre experience. I learned to march and fold my underwear in like a knife cutting edge and align it with my t-shirts. I also was not interested in the traditional naval knowledge that they were teaching, so I was very focused on something else. Maybe it was 155 when I started Buds. I gained weight in SEAL training.
That's pretty rad.
I just think I had the most access to food I had in a while.
I gained weight at Ranger School.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I was the skinny little beanpole.
Yeah.
Nobody ever was going to look at me like, that dude's a specimen.
Yeah.
More often than not, they'd be like, hey, does your mom know you're here? Because I know the instructors would ask me that.
Yeah, you're a
'cause I was the
child.
youngest guy in my class, yeah. And they're like, but.
How old were you?
18.
That's wild.
In 3rd phase, we were almost getting ready to finish training. One of the instructors came up to me and goes, hey, are you in this class? I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, I did my job.
Yeah.
Great, man.
Yeah.
He legitimately asked, he's like, I've never seen you before. Are you in this class? And I was like, I remember, he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, Instructor Gutierrez, I'm here.
Yes, I'm allowed to be here.
I'm totally allowed to be here like 3 weeks away from graduation. I'm like, yes, mission accomplished. No, you couldn't have, my God, such a motley crew in my class. Our honor man is still in jail for killing people, not on the job. He and his wife lured a couple back to their apartment and killed him, cut him to pieces with a Spyderco. He used to work at grocery stores, so he put pieces of their bodies in the grocery store dumpsters. You'll like this. They're a real Jason and Janet Bourne couple. They got rolled up in the parking lot of a Hooters in the middle of the night stealing T-shirts. And then upon further inspection, the identification cards of the people that they had killed were in her purse.
Huh.
The Spyderco that had flesh and hair still in the serrated edges.
Yeah.
We had a guy...
Real thinkers there.
Real thinkers. Mandatory parole, though, I think in 5 years. I'm going to try to get him on the episode. Just be like, so, Ben, you want to walk me through that one?
Yeah.
Looking back, he was a little touched.
Yeah.
Yeah, honor man.
Wow.
We had we had a guy who eventually did get kicked out for not being able to, I don't even know if he earned his trident, but he was one of those people, what's the best way to describe this? His mental aptitude was at a place where you were not going to break him or make him quit, but he wouldn't be suited for a spelling bee, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But you're not making him quit.
Yeah.
And then we had to do more people think you come out of buds as SEAL. You don't know shit at the end of that. You need 18 months of training to be up to speed. And he really struggled with that. But we had, God, an absolute motley crew of people that they sent us all to Fort Bragg right after that for basic airborne.
You need those, though.
You do. But you can't all be like that.
No.
No, I have told people so many times that they would be so underwhelmed, specifically from the physical stature of most. They look like normal people. Yes, they're easy to spot once you know what most of, like I can spot a team guy from a mile away from clothing. You can probably spot an Army dude or an SF dude a mile away from what they were wearing. Even today when we're walking around and you're like reintroducing yourself or people are coming up to you, I'm like, okay, that's soft package Alpha, soft package Bravo attire.
Yeah.
Like you can get it. What's hard to, if people were to line up though, it's like the horsepower they have between the ears. Dude, I worked with some smart people. I worked with people who are so much more creative than I was and the solutions that they came up with. I'm like, fuck man, how does your brain work like that?
Yeah. I had this, a friend, he created these online personas that...
Like Tinder?
Kind of. And they're like, think Twitter accounts on the black web.
Oh God.
And he would go as posing as a terrorist of a competing terrorist organization and pick fights with...
He was trolling terrorist organizations?
Yeah, as a terrorist, and then have those terrorists go meet up to fight each other over things and then like drop bombs on them. It's the coolest thing. And he's
I would have thought of that.
I would never... I'm too dumb to figure out how to create an account.
I was going to say, I don't know how to use, I can use Google, but I don't know how to use the black web. Yeah. Unless there's a Google on the black web. What, I cut you off. Why'd you re-enlist? You didn't want to be a hypocrite.
And I talk about often in all the podcasts, in my book, and about how important service is, how important selfless service is, and how important it is to be part of things and contribute to things that are bigger and greater than yourself. And I feel like we're living in an era where people are lacking purpose, direction, and motivation.
Yeah.
And I do believe that the military is one of the greatest places to build a leader. And I have no real skill. I have the only leadership I know I've been given by the military. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. I wanted to...
Why do you think people shit on military service so much? Like this came up on was it the second? Yeah, it was the second panel we did, talking about better ways to describe military service. And I was talking about the post that I would put up. Like if I was a social media manager for a day, $160,000 degree and you're slinging lattes at Starbucks with your poli-sci degree. Not that I know that's what it costs, but I feel like it's expensive. Or 4 years in the military, access to the GI Bill, a vocational skill that you can probably roll into a six-figure job. You understand at least at a baseline level, like hard work, communication, how to be on time, how to plan, how to do your job. But it's shit upon. It's as if it's a last option for people that have no other choice in life. And for me, it was my first choice.
First choice for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I wasn't ready at 18 to go into an unsupervised environment of college where they would have just kept giving me free money that I couldn't write off if I had declared bankruptcy, which I certainly would have at some point. That would have been a recipe for failure for me, but that's the piece that I wish people understood. It doesn't have to be a last option.
Yeah, it should be a first, and I couldn't agree with you more. I don't pity them, but man, when I walk into, or you open your phone now on like Instagram or Twitter or any of those social media apps, and you see this person, like I'm working 2 jobs trying to pay off my $65,000 student loan debt, and
that's on the low end of what I see.
Yeah, and both of the jobs that I'm working, I can't even afford to exist right now. Like I can't even afford my bills. And then I'm looking at a 22-year-old that is leaving the service with no debt. He gets to go to college for free, and he's making like insane money as a welder.
Yeah.
You know, he's making $200 an hour welding that he learned to do in the Army.
Yep.
And he gets to go to school for free while he's just cashing in checks, making $100,000 a year the day he graduates the Army.
Why don't they tell that story?
I don't think the Army or the military has ever been good at communicating what it does well.
Maybe we should let other people do it for them then. You know, maybe hand off that to, I don't know. God, I mean, like, honestly, like the military recruiting could just be stories of people who were successful post-military. Mm-hmm. Like every week, just dedicate a week to pick a random person who got out of the military, from the officer side. So-and-so is now the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And how did he get there? What did he do after leaving service?
So just think about some of our friends. Like, we'll start with Davin, right? Like the guy goes from 5'11" to what? To
Before
Yeti,
that was Panda Express, I think. Was it Pepsi or?
Yeah. And then comes to Black Rifle, and then go off to the next. Evan Hafer here, Jared Taylor, Matt Best, you.
Yeah. I would not put myself in that list.
I would absolutely put that. I mean,
I own a coffee shop, Tim. Evan started a coffee company.
Yeah, the nicest coffee shop on the planet.
Do you know what that means? I know how to sign my name on a check. That's all that means.
Well, you also know how to balance a checkbook, which is more than the last 2 generations.
Fuck. You could take a week, one person for a week, and just rotate through the services. A little blurb on what they did while they were in, and the rest of the week is what they're doing since they've been out. That's all the recruiting that the military would need to do. What did you take from what you learned, and how did you apply it to the rest of your life? You would run out of, there's no way you're gonna run out of stories.
Yeah.
And I think, it doesn't really tell the warfighting nature of it, so you have to have a balance, I guess. Because pre-9/11, when I came in, there was a lot of people who joined because they were viewing it as a socioeconomic elevation out of their situation. Free college, hated the environment they grew up within, piece of shit parents, like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And it worked wonders for them. Post 9/11, I don't think anybody was joining specifically for the educational benefits, just given what was going on around the world. And I think you have to be prepared for that. Even though I think a lot of what's going on currently, the last stat I saw was like special operations are in 60 countries right now, either with a sustained presence or they're operating. So I don't think it'd be forgotten. But I think if they could develop a mechanism to tell those stories, maybe they wouldn't have people knocking down the doors, but I think it would make an impact.
Yeah. You're going to talk to General Donahue tomorrow. Maybe
you're coming too.
Oh, but you making that suggestion might be more well received.
Okay.
Yeah, you should. I could not agree. 100%. I agree absolutely.
I'm going to take all of his talking points and not mention a single one. And every time he tries to direct the conversation in that way, I'm going to bring up something else.
Yeah. The first time it was a Saturday afternoon in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I know he had already been traveling abroad that week. Came back. I think he was currently commanding the 82nd Airborne. He was the huge airborne, larger than the 82nd that's at Fort Bragg. He was
You're
like,
asking the wrong person.
I know. It was like a 3-star general spot.
Yeah.
And he had just been hammered schedule-wise that whole entire week leading up to it. And then we're there on Saturday. We're doing a mental health suicide prevention panel. And he came in, stays for the panel, contributes, stays for the breakout meetings. He ended up staying for like 4 hours on his day off after he'd been traveling abroad to a bunch of pretty terrible places, and then came back to the command role where he's working like 16-hour days, and then on his day off sits there for half the day trying to address why he has soldiers killing themselves. And that was the first time that I was like, this is a leader.
And it's a real problem.
Yeah.
You think it's solvable?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, you're dumb.
I know.
And you're negative.
Yes.
And
Tell me more.
listen, positive Andy, this is how it's going to work. Yes,
It's not solvable because it
is solvable.
No, it's a human condition more than a military condition.
Okay. So
I think we can make an impact.
obesity is a human condition
Yeah.
that has come in the past 25 years.
Sure.
So is that a solvable thing?
Worldwide?
Just in America.
No.
What?
Have you?
Yeah, you
Laziness?
Yeah, you
is
put
real.
me. Well, I think it's food, it's entitlement, it's
Laziness.
laziness, absolutely.
Yeah.
So culturally, there has to be like
Conceptually, it's solvable. In practicality or in practice, I think it's not.
yeah.
Because people have free will.
Yeah, until I take Matt Best and I give him a cattle prod and he just starts walking into every fat person's house and if he finds something inside the refrigerator, then he's just like, "Bah!" and then "Bah!"
So let me see if I can unpack this properly. In your plan,
we violate a few consequences.
I was going to say, yeah, so he's trespassing and just going through people's
and torturing
fridges.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you might run into a few policy issues there. I'm not an expert in the law, but it's easy to say that. But here's the thing. You know the deal. Hard work is hard. There is a very large cohort of people that develop an allergic reaction to that. They will work hard with direct oversight, but if the direct oversight isn't there, they don't work as hard. So I don't think you could get obesity to zero. You could make a difference.
Yeah.
Much like in suicide. I would love to say we could get people to a place where they're not going to end their life. And my thoughts on suicide and why people from our community specifically suffer from a high suicide rate have changed based off the conversations I've had with people post-military that I never had with them when I was in. Did you guys ever sit around and like talk about your upbringing?
No.
I didn't either, but I've had those conversations with people since I've been out. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. The number of people that I served with that I didn't know came from fucked up childhoods is surprisingly high.
Yeah.
So they're bringing that initial trauma with them.
Yep.
You add to the military experience. You heard me say this the other day. I think if you touch war, it touches you back. But that doesn't have to be negative. I personally feel like I'm a substantially better person because of my experience. I truly think I can love at a deeper level. I think I have a greater appreciation for the smaller things. I don't think I have a very high or low emotional range, but I think I can feel the highs and lows better because of that. But I also won the genetic lottery with my parents. They were fantastic. But the number of people I didn't know at the time, but do now know that I will just describe it as a traumatic upbringing, whatever that may be. You layer on top of that the requirement of doing what they asked us to do, which yes, I get that's voluntary. And towards the end of when I was in, at least in 2013, they were making more of an emphasis on working your way proactively through those things, like, getting help, talking to people, all the traditional things. But if you never dealt with the trauma that happened before you came in, and then you layer other trauma on top of that, I mean, is it really that surprising that people get to a point where they snap?
No.
And I don't know how you fix fucked up childhoods. You're right. Like, that's one of the things that drives me nuts about. I think you and I definitely share this passion and hatred for people that prey on others. And I want to just fucking destroy them.
Yeah.
I hate bullies. And you can feel it too. You can just see it. Like, Okay.
I watched you yesterday. We that bully was like moving in front of people.
Dude.
And then he like pushes that girl out of the way. And you're just standing there like with those laser beam eyes as one of the BRCC staff guys is thinking that he's going to be able to handle this. And you were about to wear that guy's skin.
As soon as he went up and bowed up on him and took the glasses off, I'm like, that's strike one. Like, I'm not going to get up yet. And I'm just watching him for like pre-violence indicators. He never balled his fist up.
Yeah.
He never moved any closer, which to me is largely the indication of somebody who doesn't actually want any. But like, if he had balled his fist up, I would have gotten up.
Yeah.
And I would have just put my hand. I mean, I would have been gentle-ish, but he would have just gotten a nice little gently to the ground. But I mean, so probably the number one dude who impacted my SEAL career, his name was Dave Hall. I mean, in my first platoon, he was like sniper, point man, calm guy, free fall, just like, fuck you, Dave.
Yeah.
Fuck everything about you. But also, could you write down all the steps you took? Because I need to do this.
Yeah.
And the type of tactician that we did a lot of our fire maneuver tactics out in Nyland, up in the Chocolate Mountains in the desert. And there's knowing a tactic, and then there's knowing why you do a tactic and where it came from and where we learned the lessons. And like, this motherfucker, dude, was a student of history, military history. Like, God, we would sit down and he would be like, this is where this comes from. This is why we do this. This is variations. I'm just like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking amazing.
God, I love those guys.
Yeah, ended up doing, God, I think he did his 20, a lot of time at a organization that you may get attached to in your career, leave it at that. You're talking to on the phone right now, which is a very singleton job, and came back, ended up contracting for them on their selection course. And God, I think it was 3 years ago, put a Glock 19 in his mouth. And there were alcohol issues there that I knew they were present even in our first platoon. We drank fucking hard. I mean, it was pre-9/11 too. Not that that's really a reason to drink harder, but people were, I think, a little bit more loose because it's like, what are we gonna wake up tomorrow and go on op? No. No, we are not.
Yeah.
No, we're in Guam. So yeah, we're not gonna go on the Big Mish, but dig into his childhood. Sister had killed herself when he was young.
Yeah.
Not the best relationship with his parents. Joined the military as an escape from that. The things that he was asked to do inside of the military. Being alone for a long period of time at that particular command, doing those particular things in super high stress, high conflict areas. Divorce in there somewhere. I didn't know it at the time, but he had essentially lost his career due to drinking. And, I'd never had the chance to talk with him about it, but he was the guy, like, he held the standard. Like, you always knew what the standard was because he would tell you what it was. Yeah. And if you came in 0.01% shy of that, it's your ass.
Yeah, get out.
It's your fucking ass. He, in his own writings of what he left behind, essentially couldn't live up to his own standard. And, they found him surrounded by beer cans.
Yeah.
Guy who came to check the gas, of all things, at the house. God. It's like, I don't know how you stop that. Because there's fucking decades of trauma there.
Yeah, but you also listed a bunch of, negative steps. So there's all these little things that...
What I left out of that, though, is he pursued pretty deeply, from what I can tell, the non-traditional, psychedelic, very powerful drugs. He's one of the few people I know that it had no impact on. Like, almost everybody I know, they come back and they're not the same person in a good way for a period of time. I know a few guys who have gone and they've stopped drinking for 6 months or a year. And again, in what he left behind, 3 days.
Wow. Yeah, that's very abnormal.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, there may be, like, some genetic stuff going on there as well, but, I mean, that's an example of somebody who brought a lot with them before going into the military. And that's, the veteran suicide epidemic, I'm not so sure it's directly tied to military service. I think if we broaden the lens a little bit, we might find that some of those people are bringing that stuff with them. It might be the military stuff that's snapping the straw, but I don't know how you solve that, man.
And it is the military. And it might be that the military is attracting a specific group of people that have traumas in their background.
So this is another thing I've thought of. Let's say you were picked on, like you just had a piece of shit stepfather. Used to beat the fuck out of you. What would be the one thing that you would want to do?
Yeah.
Never let that happen to somebody else. Oh, here's a machine gun.
Yeah.
It's your job to go find people that want to prey on others. Oh, you're really good at this. You seem really interested in this. You know, like, why would, of course you would. Imagine being given that opportunity to stop that from cascading down. I think the issue is, at no point in time in that, unless you're proactive, are you actually dealing with what drove you there in the first place.
And that's one of the ways that I want people to realize that they can start dealing with it. You know, that healthy elements of people's lives, like small coping mechanisms.
Like drinking.
Like not drinking.
Oh, sorry. That's what I meant.
Yeah, the other way.
Drugs.
Yeah, no drugs.
Gambling.
No gambling.
Hookers, blow.
No hookers, no blow. Yeah, all of the opposites. So like,
this is the SF template I've just given you.
That's right. Yes. We have not been great at providing the whole human, the kind of like human optimization approach to the individual. And, like making sure that they're, okay, no, you don't have to be at the gym at 5 o'clock doing some stupid ass army workout. You can here's some great programming designed by some of the greatest athletes on the planet. Pick your poison. Here's a variety of ones that we think are great for your job. This is what, you walk into a chow hall right now, and this is another thing that General George and the Sergeant Major of the Army, Weimer, are addressing. Like, you walk into a chow hall right now, there's poison. There's the worst food imaginable. You go to that fast service counter, there's nothing up there that's good for you. You walk over to the salad bar, that's not real salad, there's no nutrition there.
Is that a cost thing, do you think, or just efficiency, or both?
It's both. That's all going away.
Good.
All those chow halls are gonna be changed. So now we're providing them with real nutrition, but teaching them what real nutrition looks like when, we see byproducts of old habits of energy drinks and tobacco is like just the way to get through these long days that we're currently going through right now.
What was your average rip-its on target?
I have been really disciplined. One, as an athlete, when I was in the military.
Yeah.
So
how you're able to do that still fucking blows my mind.
I didn't use any energy drinks. I used no
feel
tobacco.
like you would test positive for cocaine if you drank a Rip-It. It'd be like meth and cocaine. Because that's what you feel like when you drink a Rip-It.
No, I don't know.
We'd stop at like, hey guys, we're at the set point, and you just hear, like you have like 3 minutes. You better hurry that shit.
This is the ROP.
And don't stomp on it either. Just
last cover concealed.
I'm not joking. Yeah, I'm like, all right, man, whatever floats your boat. Okay, so you didn't take any of those.
But every one of in showing this is why I think we could make a difference, is because from diet to exercise to alcohol to gambling to monogamy to finances to gorgeous jaw lines like that.
Look at the jawline on him.
It is a
He's
good jawline.
backlit.
Oh, I was just listening. Sorry.
Do you have pants on?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I can't. The camera angle, I think, is.
Yeah. But we can't see your legs. You see his legs? He was fast on the beach. Do you see him running?
He had the wind at his back.
Well, he did have the wind to his back, but you did.
But his back is so sculpted, it's like a sail.
Yeah, he was fast. We give, and it's going to be incremental changes, but you start providing each of those tools to, and those that are with death by suicide, that are dying by suicide, they're young, 17, 25 years old. Like
that's like prefrontal cortex being finished forming.
They haven't been taught all the ways to live, to deal with trauma. They came with trauma. Now they've been given more trauma. Now they don't have the other additional.
I think you view time differently too. Yeah. Short-term stuff seems like forever.
Yeah.
I mean, remember shitty days when you're 17, you're like, this is life.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually just...
This is the end of the world. She broke up with me.
It's actually just the afternoon. But
Yeah. And she sucked anyways, man.
Yeah.
She wasn't good at it.
Easy to say now, but like looking back at that, yeah, you're like, no one's ever lived like this. 2 hours later, like, what was I pissed about for? But you got to make it through that 2 hours.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to counseling?
I went to marriage counseling.
Yep.
This is we've been married 19 years this September, and this is new.
Did you go because things were falling apart, or you doing
No.
a checkup under the hood before they did?
Kind of like things have been really, really good.
Yeah.
It was, I think complacency kills.
Yeah.
And when, like when you've had like great back-to-back missions consecutively,
Yeah.
and then just the wheels come off on the next
Yeah,
one.
you think
it's
you're
like,
unstoppable, and then you
Yeah.
get your shit pushed in.
right. Man, homeboy didn't change his batteries because like he's just been
Yeah.
the hot shit on all these targets, and then his nods, the worst sound in the world, as that thing powers down, and you're like,
The worst sound in the world from somebody from personal experience is when your nods hit the floor because you didn't put them on right.
yeah.
And then one of the tubes doesn't work. I don't recommend that to anybody.
don't do that.
That happened on my first target ever.
Whoa.
Ever.
First time I did like an offset infill, I had no idea where we were going during the con-op brief. As they're going through, like, hey, this is where we're gonna be dropped off. This is gonna be our azimuth. This is how long we're moving from. Like, you're supposed to be paying attention and taking notes and like dropping all those pins into your GPS.
Yeah.
I did none of those things, and I was the guy that was just following the dude in front of me, like the most like ineffective, useless, brand new. You want to talk
get
about?
away with it sometimes though,
Yeah.
till you can't.
Till you can't. Yeah. Then you're Jessica Lynch. You're like, please come save me.
Ugh, fuck. Yeah. So you went to marriage counseling. What about personal counseling?
No.
Have you found the marriage counseling to be helpful?
Yeah.
I can't advocate it enough for people. So I was married previously for 19 years and 11 months. We tried a few times. I wish we would have tried more, but I also wish we would have gone when the waters were smooth.
Yeah.
Instead of, what is it? It's not a tornado in the water. What is it? Hurricane?
Cyclone.
One of those things we just mentioned.
Yeah.
But you're in a boat.
Yeah. It's the we unpack things that I recognize that there are things that I realize that I'm a lot sometimes. There's a lot of energy.
You just
and
now realize that?
I do. I'm just acknowledging that. There's a lot
You're
of
just
energy.
repeating what a therapist said to you, aren't you?
There's a way. There's definitely ripples on the outside of this boat that I'm like, let's go, and like all the time.
Your boat's more like rectangular, plowing its way through the ocean than like those racing ones that they
Yeah.
do crew in.
Yep. Like I'm a pontoon boat with like huge, gigantic engines, just wrecking everything. So like being self-aware, sitting on the other side of a person that I've spent a lot of my adult life with, and having that perspective be given back to me, and then have an intermediary that intermediary that is then taking the things that she says, which is a beautiful perspective, and then giving it back to me in like intellectually.
Yeah.
And I found that really useful and insightful, and be like, man, there was a whole bunch of things that like I could be better at. And but also recognizing like here's things that I'm good at, and I should, in the sustains and improves category, like, man, I'm gonna keep working on these things because like these things are awesome. She likes those things. Man, she like I had no idea she like thought that way about me about this thing. So like
It's only probably because she told you like 1,000 times and you weren't listening.
at least. Yeah. It's not easy when you're dumb, man. And like emotional intelligence is like a whole nother level of thing. And like emotional intelligence to dealing with a woman who doesn't even like speak the same language. Like I don't know what's wrong with them, but they don't speak English.
Again, I would like to clarify who made that statement. It's not me.
They use words, but like they're not words that mean anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like this makes no sense.
I think they're more emotional creatures than we are.
Yeah.
And I think that drives some of the communication from time to time. Yeah. I think marriage counseling You know, you can drive your car till the engine light comes on, or you can take it in at a regular interval and just check under the hood, and somebody could say, hey, like that flywheel or hose is getting ready to burst.
Yeah.
You can do something about it. My experience with that at least was you can identify problems, putting in the work afterwards is where it can be difficult, the rubber meeting the road. So never went and saw a personal counselor though? Mm-mm. How come?
I have a lot of great friends. Like,
Yeah.
I think on this trip, walking back with you and Matt from Point to Hawk, like, I was talking, Matt just, man, I miss war. And I was like, I miss war too, like pretty bad. And then we were talking about things about it. And, like we were just today, you, me, your wife, Dove, we're out on the beach in Normandy, doing a little workout, hopping in the water, cold water, going for like a little cold water immersion. Like that is counseling.
Yeah.
Like, that is therapy. And I'm doing it there with like people that I profoundly respect. I do have a real difficult time sitting across from somebody that I don't know, and they're trying to speak into my life. Like I have no rapport with them. I have no respect for them.
You never tried.
They have a degree on a wall that I definitely don't care about.
I can't remember you said you've never tried.
I'm smarter than them.
Of course.
You're
saying all these things, but you've never given it a shot. And again, I'm not like, I don't think counseling fixes everything. I didn't go see, and I don't even know what I have never seen a counselor about any of my military experience. I went and talked to somebody for my fucking divorce.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What we did in the military was very easy. Comparatively.
I don't want anything to. Are these Dove sandals?
No, these are mine. I've had these for years.
I don't think so. These are his.
No, they're not. I said if he could take them from me, they could be his.
If he could beat you, just randomly wearing Dove
He was
stuff.
laying on the couch, and they were at the bottom of the base of the couch, and I walked over, put them on in front of him, and walked away while making eye contact. And he's just like, "What's happening right now?"
This is awesome. This was such a great trip. I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning. I'm not looking forward to waking up at 3 a.m., but I'm looking forward to sitting on Omaha Beach at sunrise.
I agree with you that even that, for me, is a form of counseling because of the shared backgrounds of everybody. But how do guys do that? One of the things I've noticed, guys will get out and geographically isolate, and not necessarily intentionally, but they go back to where they were from.
Yep.
It's like I'm going back to Kentucky, and I have no idea why I chose that state, but they don't have those people anymore.
Yeah.
Like in that role, I think you might have to try to sit down, because I do agree with you. Like the guy I was talking to, going through my divorce, had never been in the military, and but dude, we never talked about anything military related. I was just like, hey, I'm not sure I'm a good enough person to be a father, because that's what I'm being told. Like, am I fucked up? Is that fucked up? How do you find your true north and all this stuff?
Yeah.
And I think every Wednesday for almost 2 years, it was telehealth because it was the middle of COVID. But he certainly didn't have the background that I did. He was not divorced himself. Had not gone through any of the things that I was talking to him about. But the act of trying to understand how my brain worked and identify ways where I could interrupt my own thought process, because in the end of it, it's like, dude, you're your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Like somebody's telling you something, that doesn't mean you have to latch onto the idea and make it your reality. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know how to interrupt that cycle, the next thing you know, you're fucking spiraling the bowl and looking at a Glock 19 like it's the solution to your problems. It was not easy by any stretch, but helpful for sure. And I mean, if you're isolated, for guys that get out and they leave the community, and I mean, dudes are horrible. When we're on these trips, hang out all the time, but other than that, it's like I might talk to you every 6 months. Yeah. Or send you a text, be like, hey, I think you're stupid. Which is literally the entire subject matter of the text. But
your skydiving sucks. I just watched that video.
You're the one who sends me the videos. You're like, what do you think? I'm like,
I'm looking for positive feedback, not like you just
none
don't.
To be given.
There isn't any.
There's none.
You can find like one good thing to compliment me on. You don't have to be like, you flared too early, you flared too much, man. Then letting down. I got it.
What do you want to be better, or do you want
I
to?
do want to
mediocre?
be better.
All right. I mean, sure. I'm sure your shoes were tied appropriately. Like,
fine. Just give me any.
Let's just go off that assumption. I'm just going to critique you if you send me specifically skydiving videos. Anything else, I'll leave you alone.
PCP, praise, critique, praise.
I thought you meant like the drug.
Nope.
I'm like, where are we going with this?
This is how I have to talk to millennials and Gen Zs is in that order.
Yeah.
Man, really love what you did in the office today, coming in like that. looking fantastic. All right, moving on. You are a pile of dog
Yeah,
shit.
you're sucking a donkey's cock right now.
But the way that you do it is not terrible. And here's ways that you could do it better. And lastly,
Does that work?
it helps.
Okay. So it's possible. That's the number one thing I get talking with companies. They ask me about the term millennials is usually what they use, but I think that's going to time out pretty quickly.
It's timed out.
That's what I'm saying. What's the generation before them? Z? Y?
Gen Z is now. So
Okay.
millennials are after us.
Yep.
And then Gen Zs are after millennials. And we're back to Gen Alphas.
Okay. So yeah, I
So
mean,
Gen Alphas are born right now. Like,
and the question is like, but like, how do I connect with this person? And it's like
Yeah.
what you said. You have to take the time from a leader to figure out. I mean, the hammer works great if it's nail time.
Yeah.
The people you're talking to are not nails.
no.
No, they're pancakes. And if you hit them with a hammer, they're going to splatter everywhere.
I was a nail. And
Yeah.
I got the hammer. And that was
I was also a nail, and I needed the hammer many times.
over and over again.
But it's possible. You just have to take the time to figure out what it is that makes them tick.
yeah.
That takes time, though.
Yeah.
It's,
But they feel appreciated, they feel valued.
Yeah.
And both those generations need to feel that they're important and they're contributing. They have to understand the reason why. You and I are just like, hey, go take that hill, kill everybody that's on top of it. And we're like, let's go. And we're off.
I'd put some stuff in a satchel first. I'd like load a backpack.
Now it's like the reason why that hill is important is because of this. And the reason why it's important for you to help us take it is because you're good at this. Let's go. It's a hard thing.
I would have liked that too.
I would have liked that.
Yeah.
But we didn't need it.
But I wanted it. Now that you said it like that, I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I wanted it.
Yeah. Well, now they demand
And I
it.
certainly was afraid to ask for it because I would have gotten the shit beat out of me.
That was a different era.
Are you worried about military capability in
Yeah.
2024?
Yeah.
What do you think of the social experimentation being applied to the military?
It's not good. We got a job, be the most lethal fighting force on the planet. What does that mean? Like, we have to be the best killers on Earth. We have to be able to win our nation's war. We have to be the deterrent where somebody looks at the American people and the American military and be like, nah, like anything else but having to deal with that caged pit bull that just did a line of coke, that's been starving to be let out, and now it's just sitting there like looking at that's what we're supposed to be.
Do dogs use cocaine?
This is a metaphor
Okay.
or analogy. It was an analogy.
I'm legitimately curious if dogs would use cocaine if they could.
You could. Could you imagine a pit bull on cocaine?
No, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, wow, I've never heard it described like that. So what about people who say, well, only like 20% of the military actually sees combat, so why can't the other 80% be more diverse?
Because
that's a misunderstanding too. People think everyone in the military is, I would say they're all in combat arms, but they think they have a combat role, and that's not the case, as you and I both know.
Yeah, 1 in 12. And those other ones have to be masters of their craft. They have to be true professionals. And they also have to work within the system that is the military. And be able to conform and adapt, being able to be disciplined and regimented. These are characteristics that don't exist with certain ideas or cultures, and those certain ideals and cultures are oil and water within the military. And I know we want everything and everyone to be inclusive when performance is the only thing that matters. Like there's no equity, there's no equal opportunity that can exist in this job. That can exist anywhere else. Like if you're a barista, do whatever. If you sell records, like do whatever. But when we're talking about life and death, about protecting this country, protecting its interests, and being the most efficient killers on the planet, the most lethal fighting force on the planet, all that other stuff has to go away.
Yeah.
Like be good at your job.
I mean, I think an argument can be made that environment has to be based around that to provide the space for everybody else for them to live in those other ways that they
That's
want
right.
to. But you can't, I mean, I look at it like if you deviate from effectiveness on the battlefield, it's a matter of time until all this shit ends up at the bottom of the ocean.
In fact, that complacency kills. On September 10th, you and all of your peers were like, what are we doing here? Then September 11th happened. Like, you have to keep the edge sharp because you don't know what the next thing is. You don't know what the next Pearl Harbor is. You don't know what the next October 7th Hamas attack is. You don't. And like, there were dudes in paragliders that were crossing over the Gaza wall to go rape and murder a bunch of civilians in kibbutzes. You know, like, they took airplanes with box cutters. They, you know, did a kamikaze attack into Pearl Harbor. None of those things had ever been done before. And we don't know what the next is. But now we're a nation that is in peace. And we don't know what the next one is, so we have to stay sharp.
I agree with that.
Was
9/11? I'll fight you.
I know you would.
Was 9/11 an inside job? No. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Pentagon, missile or airplane?
I mean, couldn't it have been both?
I don't know that much about missiles. It would have to be a really big missile.
But, like, our government is so bad at hiding things.
It's not true. They're so effective.
In some things. And they can hide things with, like, noise and stuff.
The
But
CIA is just all sorts of Jason Bourne operatives.
I want JFK. I want 9/11. I want Epstein. I want all those.
People don't believe me when I tell them that the government is not capable of keeping 9/11 an inside job.
They're not. They can't keep anything a secret.
Epstein, intelligence asset for the U.S.?
Not for the U.S., but he was an intelligence asset that was blackmailing people for information.
Do you think the U.S. government allowed him to do so?
Yeah.
I think so too. I've hosted some interesting podcasts with people who've looked pretty deeply at it, and like, none of this shit lines up.
It's also not the first time that it happened. You can go back into Chile in the 60s, and there was an entire, like, German rapist colony, pedophile colony. What
kind of shit do you read?
Via Bavaria,
Your Google internet search history, I feel like it's interesting. You pull some obscure shit out of your ass.
No, it was a pretty effective way of keeping political rivals at bay, and they did it down there for 10 years. There was a guy named Schaefer.
You think they'll ever release all the information about him?
Yeah.
I worry that it wouldn't have the impact that people would want it to, because so many people are just consumed with other trivial bullshit.
It's dumbest stuff
angry
ever,
about
though.
everything.
I'm fine to be angry at things, but be angry at, like, just things. You know, like, be angry at this dude that got away and all of his cohorts got away with raping a bunch of children on an island.
Well, that just goes back to the similarity we share and disdain for people like that.
Yeah.
What do you think the odds are he killed himself?
0. Yeah.
Convenient timing.
Yeah.
With the video recorders.
Going out. All of them.
For like, what, 4 minutes?
Oh, he's dead. Wow, don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
Sorry, the video footage cut out.
Is the Earth flat around?
Definitely round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bigfoot?
I think that there are lots of species that we have not discovered.
What about with all the game cameras we have up?
I mean, we don't have game cameras. I mean, Montana. Like, I think there's areas of Montana that people have still never, like, stepped foot in.
You think?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I was reading an article today. It said remote Amazon tribe connects to internet for the first time and got addicted to porn and social media. I shit you not.
No
That was the
way.
title. They got the internet and immediately were like, let's watch people fuck.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with us as a species? And then social media. Can you imagine a society that had never had any access to it, and they get social media and it just fucking destroys them? Yeah. Here's a thought. Maybe if it can do that to people, we shouldn't have our kids on it.
Yeah, we shouldn't. I mean, my kids don't get social media until the summer before they go to college.
I can see pros and cons of that.
It's enough time for them to work through what they're going to have to deal with while we're there. So, great relationship, lots of conversations, and in that summer and year leading up to leaving for college, they're kind of working through those, but then they don't have to have their identity be digitally false or connected.
filtered,
And well, you use filtered, like scene filters, having this inaccurate view of what they're supposed to look like.
Dude, the data is back on image issues, eating disorders.
It's bad. It's all
horrible.
bad.
Yeah, especially at that young age when people are looking at like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to look like, and they don't have the processing ability to look at the picture and be like, oh, that's not even real. That's like several filters layered on top of each other.
They can't go get a breast augmentation because they're not old enough to make the adult decision about the permanent change that they're going to make to their body.
Yeah.
But we're going to allow them to have a digital device that is going to change the rest of the way the way the rest of the world views them. Like, it's just as bad. So like, no, they can't have it.
Yeah.
It's trash. Burn it. Throw that thing to the ground.
We should go eat dinner.
Dude, I'm starving.
What do you hate most about our country?
Entitlement. I think it's the ebb and flow culture of entitlement, which is infused with laziness and obesity. Like every problem that we're struggling through right now, I think when you boil it down into like one attribute or characteristic, it's entitlement.
What do you love most?
The diversity. I really take pride in being able to listen to somebody that says something that I wholeheartedly disagree with down to like my core, to the essence of my being, and they have every right to say it and they have every right to believe it, and they're so dumb and they're so wrong, and God bless them for it. You know, like, you got that right because of the men and women that jumped out of these planes here on this soil.
I also wish that people understood that understanding does not equate to agreeance. Like I have talked to people. I love having conversations with people that I don't agree with because I want to understand what they're saying. It doesn't mean I agree with what they're saying.
But if you understand their thought process.
That's what I'm saying. But a lot of people won't even take that time. They don't even want to hear it. They're like, oh, that's what you think. Go fuck yourself. I'm like, sometimes I want to say that. It's like, okay, that's what you think. But why do you think that? Because I want to understand how they view the world. It doesn't mean at all that I'm going to agree with them. And I think that's one of my favorite things too. Like, to me, the First Amendment is not about what I get to say, it's about what I have to tolerate other people saying, whether it fucking boils my blood or not. Yep. So, what do you want to close with? From France, from Normandy, France, 2024, 80th anniversary.
I hope that Americans could, just to the smallest amount, appreciate history and its significance as much as the men and women are here in France today. I wish every high school history class had a day like today. I wish every college, every university had a D-Day celebration on June 6th. They don't. I could walk into any history class in a university and ask any student sitting in that American history classroom what happened on June 6, 1944, and they would sit there with a blank expression on their face and tell me that it is Pride Month, because that's what you do in June. You paint things a rainbow. No, motherfucker. You celebrate the baddest dudes and the baddest chicks to ever. Dude, those girls that were like wearing dresses and their little cute hats, jumping jumping with parachutes in to infill as agents behind enemy lines, like.
Unsupported.
Yeah, just nothing. You got what you got
It's
on
like,
you.
hey, good luck.
Yeah. Buena suerte. You know.
Fuck, man.
So sick.
June's also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. That gets lost too.
Yeah.
Dudes need help too.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's fine.
That's a real downer, Tim. We got it.
We're gonna have sausage right now. Matt's sausage.
You're gonna put Matt sausage in your mouth?
I am.
That's
It's gonna
better
be
ending.
warm. It's gonna be large. It's gonna be delicious.
And filling.
Yeah.
I got
Okay.
the buffs too, because I wanted some steak.
All right.
Sweet. What do you think? Finish it off with first to score?
Yeah.